Who gets to call themselves a miner? Welcome to Australian Mining for New Starters, and this is another video in the series for people trying to do their research about getting into the mining industry. And I wrote this probably 3 or 4 years ago now on one of the Facebook posts, the early Facebook posts of Australian Mining for New Starters, and I'm just going to go over to it. And it's who gets to call themselves a miner and who doesn't. And the reason that I wrote this is because I just wanted to give people a perspective of from within the industry who actually calls themselves a miner. Because if someone in the street tells you that they're a miner, they probably aren't. They probably are a shutdown worker, or they're somebody that works construction, or they're the security guard that stands on the gate of the mine. What do I mean by that? So if you're actually in a production mining job like hardrock underground, this is how it works. So if you work on a mine, for most people that work outside the industry, it's a simple question. If you work on a mine site, then you're a miner. However, within the industry, it's very different attitude and culture, with many different areas considering it an insult to be labelled a miner. So here's a rundown. So if you go calling fitters miners, you get into all sorts of trouble, but we'll talk about that in a second. So if you use an air leg underground, then you're a miner. So these are the guys that use the handheld machines underground. They have always been the miners. Whenever that they're the guys that call themselves a miner. If you work underground operating mining machinery, then you're an armchair miner or an operator, or the fitters love to call us rock apes because our knuckles drag on the ground and we break things constantly. But most people that work on the underground crew, if you ask them what they'll do, they'll tell you specifically what they'll do. Oh, I'm a jumbo operator in an underground mine, or I'm on charge up in the underground mine. Very rarely will they say that they're actually a miner unless they're an air leg miner. And the reason that none of these guys and girls are going to say that is because your head used to get taken off in the pub if you used to call yourself a miner when you weren't. And those sort of traditions keep going on to this day. So just be aware that, the only people that I know of that call themselves miners are the air leg miners underground. So if you work in the pit, then, most people talk, that they say that they're drillers, or they're the digger operator, or they're truck operator. The fitters love to call them pit fairies or shiny bottoms. If you work in the mill, then you're a mill operator, or they like to call people mill rats if they work in the mill. If you work exploration, then you're a driller, an offsider, or a fieldy. If you work in maintenance on a hard rock mine, then you're a fitter. And it should be noted at this point that most fitters consider it an insult to be called a miner, and will respond with either rock ape or pit fairy as an insult in response. So many a time I've had a situation where fitters have not liked being associated with any of the mining crew or that sort of stuff. They take it quite seriously, so the easiest way to insult a fitter is to call them a rock ape. So if you work in oil and gas, or site as a driller or a roustabout, or a construction worker, you're not a miner. You're one of those things. If you work in a camp, then you're a utility worker, not a miner. If you work a shutdown on a mine site, you're a short-term maintenance worker, not a miner. If you work construction on a mine site, you're a construction worker, not a miner. It's important to understand that the people who decide who gets hired and who don't, who won't react well to people referring to themselves of having mining experience when they fall into the last 4 categories. And the reason that I'm having a laugh about that is because I've just done a video a couple of weeks ago about that, because people always start their resumes off, I've got 5 years mining experience, when they're going for a hard rock underground mining job. And if you don't actually have 5 years in the actual hard rock underground mine, I can tell you here and now, like if you've got 5 years in construction or shutdown work or something like that, then your resume's going straight in the bin, because all you've done is you've led the foreman on, or the project manager on, to believe that you've got 5 years mining experience in their area of mining, not the area of mining that you've actually got your experience in. So this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this video, just to give people an idea that different areas of the industry call themselves different things, and then if you come across somebody that's telling you that they're a miner, they're probably not. They probably fall into one of these categories down the bottom. And then if you're actually in the mine doing the work, you don't look at the shutdown workers as miners. You look at them as shutdown workers. You don't look at the fitters as miners. You look at them as fitters. It's just the way it works. And again, if you don't do your research properly, you can get suckered into thinking things don't work the way that they work. So I hope you found that information helpful, and if you could share this video around and like and subscribe the channel, that would be wonderful. Thanks.